Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning and welcome to TimeToPlay.com's Empower Half Hour. My name is Doreen Guma. I am a certified professional life coach, a certified professional coach, a board-certified healthcare executive with 27 years of seeing the sick and sad, and that's how this whole thing started. And online with me is our co-host. It's Michael Waterman. He is our makeup and beauty expert and co-creator of the Be Extraordinary product line. And we'll be hearing more about that very, very soon. So good morning, Michael, and thank you for being with us this day as usual.
Good morning. And I am en route, so it's kind of, if you hear noises in the background, everyone, it's because I'm on public transportation.
Well, there you go. So, all right, we have a ton of stuff to talk about today. This is a new year. A lot of us have problems that we've let get us down. I am absolutely a perfect example of that, of a person who's allowed my thinking to hold me back for many, many, many years, and that's part of Time to Play and why I chose to become a life coach and stuff to help other people get unstuck, why we wrote If I Knew Then What I Know Now. So 20, 30, 50-year-olds, 70-year-old, 80-year-olds don't have a shoulda and a regret. So that's basically a lot of the goals of what I'm trying to accomplish and help a million people enjoy life. So if you didn't go on TimeToPlay.com yet, do so. It is a hub of resources for people to enjoy life. And today we're going to be talking about problem-solving techniques developed by Dr. Albert Ellis. And in 1955, he created a process, a therapy called Rational Emotive Therapy. And it's sort of like life coaching to help you get unstuck. So it's a very interesting therapy. It encourages you to have and express feelings when something goes wrong, but it distinguishes between you feeling appropriately and helpfully concerned, sad, sorry, frustrated, or annoyed. It shows you how to cope with difficult life situations. This is what Rational Emotive Therapy, what he advocated. It's positive, he said, and this is very interesting because how many times have we talked about having a positive attitude? And Dr. Ellis's concept of the positive thinking, of course, yes, that's very important, but that it only helps us cope temporarily, but it will defeat us in the long run because we could become disappointed. It shows us how we are now creating emotional or behavioral problems. It encourages us to take responsibility for our upsetness, and this is most important. It talks about what activating events there are in our life that cause emotional upsetment. So our belief system, and you know how we've talked about that so many times. It's in the book. The last part of the book is a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but it's also a terrible thing to have. That's in If I Knew Then What I Know Now. You can learn more about that on TimeToPlay.com. But it's really our thinking that causes our distress. Rational versus irrational thinking, feelings of anxiety, depression, hostility. We've actually talked about that, and where I've actually said when we identify, he calls it an irrational belief, that we need to stop and switch our thinking. And Michael, chime in any time and interrupt me because I can ramble. This
All
is most very interesting.
I'm listening to you. Is that from what I read, is that he sees that there are triggers that we set off that are going to cause us to think negatively toward the situation we're in, rather than being appropriate. Saying, like, for instance, I just had a situation just now. Young man was late for work and stomping and carrying on at the bus stop, and he said, the bus is going to stop. The guy is going to stop. And sure enough, that particular bus went on vacation, went on his break.
Oh,
Great,
goodness gracious.
I said, I tried to say to him words of power. And what you put out is what you get.
This is most true. You know, when we think, and this is something he says, like it's a thing that we have to start to identify, and we've talked about this a number of times, identifying the things that we're creating. Like, so sorry, I actually never made it to the office, and I have the dog in the house who decided to bark right now, but whatever. So are dealing with severe feelings of anxiety, depression, hostility, self-pity, guilt, self-hatred, like things that we create. It's most interesting. You put into perspective, it makes total sense, right?
If you think that you're not going to succeed, you're not.
You betcha.
If you put it out there that you're failing, yes, you are.
Well, his thing is that.
That's why this whole year, this is a brand new year. We unwrapped a brand new year. We have to celebrate that and say, okay, time to excel and move forward. Not go, oh, my God, what happened last year? The hell was last year? It's gone. We can't worry about last year.
Absolutely.
We have to pick up the pieces and move on.
So Dr. Ellis said that he developed this rational emotive therapy over 30 years and used thinking from ancients as well as, you know, like all these tremendous thinkers. And he came to the conclusion that we do largely create our own feelings, and we do so by learning from our parents and others and by inventing in our own heads our own sane or foolish thoughts. And we consciously and unconsciously choose to think, and hence we feel in certain self-helping or self-harming ways. But he said, of course, that it also depends on hereditary and our environment. But we are not born with specific thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. And our environment, it says, nor does our environment directly make us act or feel, but our genes and our social upbringing give us strong tendencies to do and enjoy what we do. And although we usually go along with or indulge in these tendencies, we don't exactly have to. And our thing is that we have the ability to think about our thinking, and we are not stuck or habit-bound, and we can choose to think the way we want to choose. We can choose to change our behavior. And it's just very rational thinking. Time to Play advocates for learn what you need to know so you can enjoy life. And this is basically it, right?
If you see what we've got, see that we can take where we are now and make it better. We have how many people that are on resources now for Time to Play?
It's about 30, at least 30.
30 different people that are going to lend a hand in helping you get where you need to go. That's pretty good.
I would say. So this is most interesting, and the book actually, this book is called How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything, Yes, Anything by Albert Ellis, Ph.D. It's not an easy read at all. It's a very hard read. However, it was provided to me by Dr. Rella. He's our superintendent of schools at Complex School District in Port Jefferson Station. It's the book that he believes in this type of thinking. He and I are working on a research study together, and it's most interesting. So, you know, basically a lot of things that we need to identify, and the irrational thinking.
Well, don't you find people panic?
That's one. Panic. Should, oughts, musts, demands, commands, you know,
anger,
panic, anxiety.
Fear.
Yep. So I want to kind of go into, because we only have 20 minutes to go, but this is the stuff that we really need to consider, and why I'm kind of going over this before I go into the real problem-solving part, because it's giving us a little bit of a foundation and the discussion of beliefs that can set us up for failure. And he has this thing to do scientific analysis, and I've discussed root cause. So we need to identify if our beliefs are realistic or factual, logical, flexible, and unrigid. Can the belief be falsified? it's very, and do we believe we deserve what we're getting? Like that kind of thing. Like, we can create self-harm in our thinking. So that's just something to throw out there. So here's our problem solving. So this could be used for reality and also for emotional issues. So Dr. Ellis notes that everyone has things that affect them by the people and the environment that surrounds them. And he says, you live in a social system with your family, friends, business associates, acquaintances, and strangers, and to some degree, you affect others, and they affect and influence you. And our environment, external environment, also can affect us, and we also affect the external environment. The things that we do in our own body, such as eating, drinking, exercising, thinking, and feeling, also affect our body. And living in our complicated environment, we have basic goals which bring to the activating events of our life and goals that create practical problems for us to try to solve. He uses an example of, like, should I get a good education? What do I do to find a suitable mate? These types of things that can torture us in our thinking processes. And once we recognize a reality problem, we can try to solve them, or we can choose to make ourselves upset about them. And if we upset ourselves, we have a problem about a problem, an emotional problem, or a neurosis about our reality problem of how to survive and enjoy ourselves. I know that sounds like a lot. Did you get that, Michael?
I hope they did. I certainly did. Look, we're surrounded by people. We're surrounded by, let's say opening a can, the can opener breaks. That gives you a little frustration. Or you turn on the hot water and blood comes out because they were working on a fire the other night. That's going to affect you. Everything you do around you affects you. And we have to learn to kind of step back and say, okay, this is what happened, and let's fix it. Rather than saying, oh, God, I'm going to kill myself. Like I said before, words have power, and that's the Christians, Muslims, and Jews believe in the power of prayer, do they not?
Correct.
And prayer is word and thought put into action. So when you use your mind, you're sending that energy out there, and you're actually sending electrical energies out into the universe to work or not work.
Absolutely. And this makes perfect sense. I used to work with a woman who I would be in a good mood, and I would go into the office, and like within 3 seconds, I would want to jump off the top of the building because she just was she brought you down. But, this is the choice, and we've talked about this many times, about the choice of what we want to believe or how we want to behave. So yesterday I walked into my office. It was literally 49 degrees. The heat was not working. I could have been miserable and had a really, really bad day. But I put my coat on, I sat at my desk, and I waited till the repair got in, and I, had an extra cup of coffee and kept as warm as I could. I could have had a miserable day and been crabby, but I chose to not, and that is our choice. So there's so much to this thinking process, and, it's a systematic thought. So, again, we can either upset ourselves and have a problem about a problem, or we can not. So while we're anxious or depressed about making a decision, and trust me, we all experience this, such as, shall I stay with my love partner or end our relationship, we may be unable to see which of our desires to stay or leave is greater, and our guilt about leaving, for example, may prevent us from seeing what we really want to see, or our anger at a partner may push aside our real desire to stay. they had another example. You may spend so much time and energy being disturbed that we have little left to devote to solving our practical problem. Thus, we may spend too much time whining about having to decide whether to leave your partner that you never get around to actually making the decision. Or we may be so upset about having a problem and knowing no good and quick solution to it that we may not be able to keep our thoughts in order to help solve it. So the Rational Emotive Therapy encourages us first to solve our emotional upsetness, our problem about the problem, and then carefully consider our practical decisions. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, to verbalize, literally verbalize what's wrong. Get it out there.
But if we're upset about what we're upset about, right. So I think that's cool. So this is his insight. This is insight number 7. It's on page 94 of Dr. Ellis's book. As you attempt to solve your practical life problems, look carefully to discover whether you have any emotional problems, such as feelings of anxiety or depression about these practical issues. If so, seek out and actively dispute your dogmatic masturbatory. He has this thing about must. I must. You know, like if we must, it makes us crazy sometimes too because it puts too much pressure. So our masturbatory thinking that leads to our emotional difficulties while working to reduce our neurotic feelings go back to our practical problems, solving our practical difficulties and use them in self-management and problem-solving methods to tackle. I know that sounds kind of hard to think, but basically what he's saying is we need to get rid of that emotional baggage so that we can clearly see what we're up against and be able to make the decisions that we need to. He had an example about this woman who wanted to finish college but didn't have a lot of money, and she had to commute 50 miles to do it. And she made it really hard to tell herself, I must finish college, and I have to do it soon, and I have to work hard at my job, and I have to go to school, and it shouldn't spend so much time commuting, and it's unfair, and things shouldn't be that unfair, and my father keeps telling me that I don't have the ability to finish, and maybe he's right, and if so, that would be awful, and I'd never get any of the good things I really want in life, and I hate my rotten father for doing this to me. And not for anything, but that was pretty much me. For like all my years, it took me 20 years to finish my master's.
Look at all the negativity that bottled up in there and oozed out.
Don't you think?
How
oh my
awful.
Gosh, right? So,
and it's
but
like,
how many?
You want to tell somebody who talks like that, what? You know, these are all the bad things. But you're in college. You're going to have a better job, a better chance to do stuff, and you got to get through that. You know, you can't. We all have our stuff that we have to get through. Okay,
right.
But complaining and pushing out the negative energy out into everybody else's life too. A, is not fair, and B, isn't going to do you any good. It's not going to help you.
No, it's making you sick, being upset that you can't get your stuff done.
You can become emotionally as well as physically sick, and you know that.
Absolutely, but we all do this to ourselves, don't we?
Oh, my God, yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
We forget. You cannot, nobody's perfect.
No, of course we're not. Of course we're not.
I'm a makeup artist. If people were completely perfect, I wouldn't have a job.
This is a good point. So, but this is what, Dr. Ellis said, that, Joni used her discussions with herself to feel anxious, depressed, angry, and self-hating, and that interfered with her able to solve her problem about money, school, work, commuting, and also her problems with her father. And so after he got her to realize that she was creating her upsetness, and that upsetness blocked her from discovering that she could borrow money, she could live closer, she could, communicate with her dad, she could acquire different organization skills, study skills, and accomplish. So all of this baggage, this emotional and stuff, this self-hating, this talk, this negative self-talk, and how many of us do this, was barring her from accomplishment. So Dr. Ellis believes that everyone can change their irrational beliefs and our disturbed emotional consequences to which they lead. And we need to look at that activating event in our life and to use problem-solving skills for our decisions to be more practical and more pleasurable. And the Rational Emotive Therapy deals with feeling and behavior, and because it includes corrective teaching, is a problem-solving and skill-solving. So we want to look at the disrupted feelings about our life events and change our ideas that produce these feelings, and they enable us to work at reorganizing to see how we can, move forward. And so he has an example, and we're going to use How to Get a Better Job, because I just read an article a couple of days ago that, that's one of the biggest defining things that people have for happiness if they have and love their job. So How to Get a Better Job. So he says to look for any emotional or behavioral problems you have about these practical problems. Are you anxious about getting a good job and keeping it, for an example? And if you are anxious, ashamed, depressed, or enraged about that practical problem, how to get a better job. Some people say, I'll never get a better job. I'm never going to get out of this job. What else do you hear, Michael? I hate this job. I hate this boss. I hate this everything, right? How many?
Perfect example. Now, we know that I'm going through that right now. Am I not?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to look at where I am and why I am where I am, and now what are my skills that I'm not using? What are the things the values of my own values that I'm not giving myself credit for? And those are things people don't do. What can you do? What are you good at? Why are you putting yourself in a little box when you can be in a bigger one, a better one?
Absolutely.
People don't do that. They get stuck and they settle. I'm guilty of that. I've done that. I settled. I literally painted myself into a corner, and now I'm looking for better corners.
And we all have to do that every day, or else this is his thing. If you have this practical problem and we become anxious, ashamed, depressed, enraged about the problem, or if we're indecisive or phobic or compulsive about the decision, we have to look for the shoulds, oughts, musts, and our awfulizing, self-downing, I can't stand it, that accompany them. So, making us say, I must get a job, I must get a better job, it makes us frustrated. So actively dispute the shoulds or musts, or awfulizing, or I can't stand it, or self-downings. He has this thought, why must I get a good job, and where is it written I have to keep it? I don't have to get it or keep it, but I would want to, so I'll keep pushing to get one. So it's a better, more healthy thinking versus I have to, I'm going to die if I don't. And once we get rid of the irrational beliefs that interfere with our solving our practical problem and making good decisions, we can do our best to solve them. And some problem-solving skills that he has this is most important, and I'm sorry it's 6 minutes left before the end, and this is when I'm throwing it out there, but some problem-solving skills, state a problem as clearly as you can. For example, what shall I do to get a good job? What step had I better take first? What step shall I take next? Who should I consult about getting a good job? Can any of my friends possibly help me? What kind of resume or several resumes shall I write? How can I get help with my resumes? Shall I let my past employers know I am looking to be fully sure they will give me a good reference? What shall I do to have a better job interview, and et cetera? And he says to write down many problem-solving questions such as these about the problem, which could be any problem, of course, we wish to solve, then outline and put them on paper our answers and make a plan and act on it to implement the ideas. Then follow up on the plan and push ourselves to follow the plan. And this is his thought process. Solve your practical problems and issues. To do it's pretty easy, but little teeny steps. Because here we're breaking it down in little teeny steps. And, you know, we have to know that we might fail, but that we learn from our errors and we can do better. And, you know, we can't be scared to fail because we'll never, ever move forward. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. I hope I didn't totally lose and or confuse or frustrate anybody, because this is a ton of information. But it makes perfect sense. Anybody listening, this is recorded, and you actually can back it up to like that 6-minute mark to write down those problem-solving skills. You know, I just think that it's kind of just nice to see something so consolidated and easy, because we are our worst critics.
Well, you said something a minute ago that made me trigger something in me. You're a life coach. So I see that if we have someone to talk to like you, that this can be a very good thing and very helpful, because you can analyze the situation. And it's important, I think, sometimes to talk to somebody else about your problem, so that you can have two heads are better than one. You can have a clearer perspective on how things are going.
Right, but we can't talk to somebody else to just complain about our situation.
I didn't
we have
say
to
that.
start. No. I'm throwing that out there.
Someone help you analyze. Right, but let's have it the right way. We want someone else out there to help us analyze the situation as it actually is. Never mind the complaining and crying and whining. Where are you? What's really happening, and how do we go forward? That's what we want.
Absolutely. And that's the whole biggest thing. Joel Osteen said, and I quoted him in the book, be a victor, not a victim. And we can, yes, that's exactly what this whole book is talking about. We can be a victor, or we can be a victim. We can make ourselves upset because we think negatively that we can't, we won't, we're bad, we're whatever, we're a failure, we're never going to move forward, we can't do it, or we can move forward. And that's why I did life coaching, because, like I said, I lived with this negative thinking that I was not going to, I couldn't, why should I, how could I, you know, thinking for many, many years. And I want to help other people unstuck, you know, so that they don't waste so much time. And that's what's written in the book, you know, if I knew then what I know now. So we don't waste the time, because the time is precious. I wrote a new article on Time to Play. If you go on Time to Play, go to Team Professionals, Doreen, Guma right there. It's entitled 2014, Another Year of Possibilities, but Another Year Gone. And it talks about spending time wisely. So that's something that I want to throw out there, because it's very much related. We can sit and complain for years and waste the time, or we can move forward. And that's really what If I Knew Then What I Know Now is about as well. Tammy wrote a great article, too. I read it this morning on reward and punishment with our health, that we do a reward and punishment system. Just very thought-provoking, because it's like, yeah, people do that. Oh, it was good this week, so I can have that cheesecake. You know, that's our reward and punishment thing that we have in our philosophy, but we can attribute that to every area in our life. So something very interesting to think about. So with that, I'm going to kind of wrap us up. I hope that today was a little bit useful for people. You can always give us a call or email us. There is information on our contacts, but our office number is 631-331-2675, and the email info@timetoplay.com. Love to hear feedback. But Time to Play was created to help people move forward and life. It's provide resources for a better life. The Time to Play philosophy is you have to be happy, healthy, have money, and a work-life balance. And we are all on there providing tips and words of wisdom to help us get out of our own way and learn what we need to know so we can enjoy life. And Michael, of course, is there to make everybody beautiful. And that's about it. Anything to add?
I just want to say you helped me personally enormously, and you always give me insights into little things that I don't see in my life, and I hope that I help you as well, not only to make you look beautiful, but help you get through the day.
No, absolutely, and I appreciate that very much, Michael, and I do, thank everybody for the participation that they do provide to Time to Play, and I do hope it's a helpful project. I'm sorry I kind of rambled today a little bit. There was just so much that I wanted to share, and I hope that, people have gotten a lot out of that. So that's about it. And so have a wonderful, wonderful day.
So noisy.
No, it's all right. I'm hoping that anybody, was able to get what they needed out of this. So have a wonderful day.
Our first mobile broadcast.
For 2014. So have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you guys, soon. And anything you need, let us know.
Thanks, you, everybody,
Michael.
and have a great day. Bye, honey.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.